for more on this, I do want to bring in retired detective Kevin Bryan to talk about what we just saw and heard. Kevin, were you able to see the press conference and the video in question?
Yes, Jen, I watched the press conference.
Okay, great. What do you see when you look at that video?
Well, what I see, the most startling thing here for me and surprising thing is that they've actually, taken a video and they actually refer to him as a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
So to not use the term person of interest, but to elevate that to a suspect, that to me is the most surprising and informative part of this of the press conference today.
Is it possible to positively identify someone just from a video like that?
You know what, to make a positive identification of the person, I would say it would be almost impossible. I mean, that's my that was my trade in life, trying to identify persons through fingerprints and DNA and footwear identification and such. But just from that video would be very difficult. I mean, he does got a very, and I say he because common sense, if this is the person who actually committed the two homicides, common sense is telling me it is a man who, as opposed, I know they can't tell if it's a man or a woman, but if they're using the term suspect, if this is the person who actually did the homicides, as opposed to was just in the area when they took place, if he was going, we're dealing with a man here, 99.9%. And so to try and identify that gait, and it is quite unique. He does. It's almost like he's either got a little bit of a limp, maybe hurt himself a little bit, but his right foot does go at a different pace than his left foot does. It swings out a little bit. There's something going on with the way he walks, and that could be certainly a clue for some person who knows him to come forward and say, "I know who this guy is."
So he's walking in. They wouldn't tell us what neighborhood it is, so obviously we don't want to speculate. But the assumption is it's not far from the Sherman property. So would that be your take as well?
Definitely. My take is he's right in the area. I think he's aware also that there are video cameras in the area. He's looking straight ahead. He's kind of focused on the ground or straight in front of him. He's certainly going to be aware that many homes in this neighborhood have video surveillance, both pointed out towards the roadway. So he's going to be aware of that. The fact that they've got enough video evidence that they're referring to this person as a suspect tells me that they've got them either on the Sherman property or walking away from the Sherman property. The other thing that, where's he going? Did he walk to the scene? Did he have a vehicle? And the one thing I heard Detective Price say that kind of might say that he did have some type of a vehicle was that he said, when referred to about the video footage, he says walking was his general action. So that tells me that maybe they do have a vehicle. Maybe they've got something or some indication that he did get into a car.
Why did it take 4 years to release this video, Kevin?
Well, Detective Price is indicating that to get to the quality of video that they actually have. Maybe some type of an enhancement done, maybe some type of enhancement to the lighting of the video, isolating it down to the fact that this is the area, this is the person, so they've got him in other areas as well. But as for taking 4 years, Detective Price is asking the public for assistance in identifying this person, while at the same time trying to keep as much information to himself as possible. And it's very difficult for him, not being able to answer all the questions that the press has and members of the public have. But it's why it takes 4 years. I mean, we heard Detective Price's reasoning, and my thinking is that they're getting closer. They're getting closer. They've got to try. They've got all kinds of phone records. They want to try and put the person with this gait, with this walk, the person in this video. They want to try and put him to a cell phone that was used in the area, and subsequently be able to positively identify who he is.
And they talked about that cell phone data. It's so interesting because, we all watch those TV shows and you think it's so easy, but he pointed out that analyzing cell phone data, pinging off of one cell tower to the area of the Sherman's house, is a huge undertaking when you think of, you know, how many people have cell phones and are on those phones, and they have to analyze every single one of them in a certain period of time. I think you referenced over 900 points of data that they had to look at on that one, you know, specific night and time. It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, and when you're working forwards, when you have the actual cell phone, and you can try to determine, okay, what number did this, what cell phone did this tower, did this phone ping off of? It's much easy. It's very easily done. But when you're working the other way, and you've got a massive load of data of all these phone numbers and cell phones that pinged off this particular tower, and then try to work backwards and narrow it down to the one individual who might be responsible for the homicide, it's a much more daunting task working back than it is working forwards.
Yeah, process of elimination. I'm flat out of time, but I just want to ask, a $10 million reward has been offered by the Sherman family for anyone who has information leading to what happened, yet nothing has come forward. No one has come forward. Is this a case that can be solved?
Yeah, oh, definitely it's a case. Well, they've got a suspect now. It's certainly a case that can be solved. And they've got other evidence too that is going to, once we get into identifying this person and get into the motive and get into interviewing the suspect, it could often lead in different directions into other persons involved, perhaps. Maybe he was hired by somebody. We don't know all the details, and Detective Price ain't telling us. But certainly it is a case that they've got to the point where they've identified, got a suspect identified, not his name, but they've got his video. I think it's certainly a case that can be solved. And as for the $10 million reward, it doesn't mean no tips have come in. I'm sure lots of tips have come in, just not the one that's pointed in the proper direction yet.
Retired Detective Kevin Bryan, really appreciate your expertise today. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bye, Jen.